Hi everyone and welcome to our final ethics group project. I'm Raya.
I'm Alexandra.
And I'm Sophie, and today we're diving into a controversial topic that affects campuses nationwide. Is using Ritalin or Adderall without a prescription to enhance academic performance morally wrong?
According to recent studies, approximately 1 in 3 college students admits to misusing prescription stimulants like Adderall, with half of students saying it's easy to obtain on campus. But just because something is common doesn't make it right. Today we'll explore this issue through philosophical lenses, hear from students on campus, and analyze survey data we collected from our peers. Our thesis statement is, using Ritalin or Adderall without a prescription for academic enhancement is morally impermissible because it reflects a problematic desire for mastery over natural abilities and violates Kantian moral theory. It also creates unfair advantages and poses serious health risks that cannot be justified by temporary academic gains.
Let's start by asking students what they think. We hit loud to ask if taking Ritalin without prescription is the same as cheating in academics. First, we're here with
David?
David. Do you think that taking Ritalin without prescription is the same as cheating academically?
Personally, I would not consider taking something like that equivalent to cheating academically. I feel like it's essentially equivalent to having a lot of caffeine, but maybe turned up to 11. I don't think it gives you an unfair advantage. I just think it makes you perhaps hyperactive. I don't think it's fundamentally unfair. I'm not going to say it's fundamentally correct, but I don't think it's unfair. And you're doing it at your own risk, and if you choose to make that decision, then good luck.
Hi, I'm JP, and I think Adderall's not cheating because it is your own work.
Hi, I'm Tucker. I don't think it's cheating because it's a level playing field and everyone can get it, but don't do it.
Hi, this is Professor Steenhausen of the Theology Department, and I was asked the question, is taking a stimulant, Adderall or Ritalin, considered, in my opinion, cheating in an academic environment? And I would say no. I don't think it is cheating.
Interesting perspectives. Now let's look at our survey data. We polled a sample of 200 students, and while not all of them replied to the survey, we are still able to gather some really interesting data. As we found in our interview, the majority of people felt that using non-prescribed Ritalin to improve academic performance is not similar to academic cheating. However, when asked how fair or unfair they considered this action to be, this was the response. Notice the striking disconnect here. Most students don't think unprescribed Ritalin use is cheating, yet nearly half still call it unfair. They're essentially saying it's not breaking the rules, but something about it still feels wrong. Meanwhile, a quarter of students remain completely unsure. They literally can't decide if this practice is right or wrong. This confusion shows that is it cheating might actually be the wrong question entirely. The real issue isn't about breaking rules. It's about something deeper that can't be adequately addressed by a traditional cheating versus non-cheating or fair versus unfair framework. That's why we need to turn to philosophy to understand what's really troubling about enhancement.
To understand why this might be problematic, let's turn to philosopher Michael Sandel. In The Case Against Perfection, Sandel argues that enhancement represents what he calls a Promethean aspiration, a desire to remake nature to serve our purposes. Sandel's key insight is that the problem isn't just about fairness or safety. It's about the attitude enhancement expresses. He writes that enhancement threatens to banish our appreciation of life as a gift, and to leave us with nothing to affirm or behold outside of our own will. When students use unprescribed stimulants, they're not just trying to stay awake. They're attempting to master and redesign their cognitive abilities, rather than accepting and working with their natural capacities, or what they already have. This drive for control, Sandel argues, corrupts authentic achievement. As he puts it, when we enhance, our admiration for the achievement shifts from the player to his pharmacist.
We're here with
Ali?
and our next question is, should students be allowed to take Ritalin or Adderall even if it harms them, just as some students choose to drink or smoke?
No, I don't think so, just because it's a medication and it's got a serious effect on your body, and I think it's got to go through a doctor's office or a medical professional.
Okay, we're here with Theodora.
My twin. If you don't need Adderall, then I don't think you should be able to take it because there's already a shortage to begin with, and I don't think students need another
drug that they're able to abuse.
Hi, I'm Vito. No, I don't think so because it promotes a grind culture that can be harmful and ruins work-life balance.
For this question, our survey revealed a disparity. Around 70% of students believe that the health risks associated with unprescribed use of Ritalin do not make it morally wrong, while around 25.5% of students believe that there are limits. But not all philosophers agree with Sandel. Francis Cam challenges his position, arguing that the desire for mastery isn't inherently problematic. She points out that we already accept many forms of enhancement, from caffeine to tutoring to SAT prep courses. Cam's crucial distinction is this: we should evaluate enhancements based on their actual effects, not the attitudes behind them. If the benefits outweigh the harms, enhancement might be permissible. She even argues that in some cases, specifically when enhancing her capacity to recognize and fulfill moral duties, enhancement could not just be permissible, but advisable. However, here's where our analysis diverges from Cam. While she is right that enhancement isn't always wrong, unprescribed Ritalin use presents unique problems that her general defense does not address, such as the health risks, the violation of medical regulations, and the systemic unfairness it creates.
We're here with
Raya.
and we're asking if you think that taking Adderall without a prescription cheapens achievement.
Yeah, I do think so.
Hi, I'm Kate. I would say that it's the same thing as cheating on a test, and it makes their accomplishment or great score less valid.
We're here with
Paco, and I think that I wouldn't take away anything from the accomplishment. I think it's the same accomplishment, but I think it was maybe less effort than someone that hadn't taken whatever before the test. So if you compare someone that, studied and did everything but without the use of any, drugs or anything like that, any enhancers, and you compare it to someone that did, I think the person that didn't take whatever did, have a greater effort, but it's the same result either way. So that's what I think.
Survey data shows about 55% of respondents believe that it does undermine the value of achievement, while 22% of respondents disagree with the statement.
Let's apply Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative to this issue. According to Kantian ethics, we need to test whether an action can be morally permissible by examining if it could become a universal law. The maxim we're testing is: whenever I need to improve my academic performance and can obtain prescription stimulants without a prescription, I will use them. Now, Kant gives us two tests. First, the can conceive test, or the CC test, asks, can we even consistently conceive of a world where everyone acts on this maxim? The short answer is yes. Now, let me clarify something important here. Unlike making a lying promise, which would destroy the very institution of promising and make the practice impossible, we can actually conceive of a world where everyone uses prescription stimulants without prescriptions, because the practice wouldn't undermine itself. Universities would still exist, exams would still happen, and stimulants would still have their effects. So, this maxim actually passes the conceivability test.
But here's where it gets interesting. Kant's second test, the can-will test, asks, even though we can conceive of such a world, can we rationally will it to exist? Can we actually want to live in that world? The answer is no, and here's why. As rational beings, we have certain commitments we cannot abandon. First, we will our own health and self-preservation. But in a world where everyone uses prescription stimulants without medical supervision, we would be willing a world with widespread health crisis from unsupervised drug use, collapsed medical oversight systems that we ourselves might need, not to mention rampant addiction and mental health problems, as well as a pharmaceutical system where safety protocols are meaningless.
Think about it this way. In willing universal stimulant use, we'd be willing a world where genuine merit becomes indistinguishable from pharmaceutical enhancement, undermining the very concept of achievement we seek. It's similar to Kant's example about refusing to help others. You can conceive of a world where no one helps anyone. Humanity might even cease to exist, but that's conceivable. What you can't do is rationally will such a world, while also willing your own survival and flourishing when you need help. So while unprescribed Ritalin use and stimulant use passes the conceivability test, it definitely fails the willing test. Since the maxim fails Kant's universal law formulation, the action is morally impermissible, not just unwise or risky, but actually wrong according to moral law.
We're here with
Luke.
And do you think the pressure on students makes taking enhancement drugs more acceptable or troubling?
Don't do it. I guess troubling. It's like, would make sense why I do it, but don't do it.
We're here with...
My name is Soren. Hi, Dr. Cow. And I think that like Ritalin shouldn't. It's more troubling now, especially as more and more people are using it, because it's not meant for the consumption by regular individuals. It's meant for people with ADHD. And I think that if we continue accepting this as a way that students are using during academics or finals, it's very dangerous, especially to the student body and to the people that are involved and the people that actually need it.
When we asked students directly about their own experiences, the numbers were striking. 1 in 3 students, that's 33%, admitted to taking stimulants without a prescription. Think about that. In a typical classroom of, say, 30 students, 10 have used unprescribed Adderall, Ritalin, or similar drugs. But here's what's particularly revealing. Of those who admitted to unprescribed use, nearly half, around 46%, said that they did it for academic reasons. The other half used stimulants for other purposes, whether that be staying awake at parties, weight loss, or recreational highs. This split shows that academic pressure isn't the only driver, but it is responsible for nearly half of unprescribed use on campus. These numbers become even more concerning when we consider the pressure students feel.
According to our survey, about 33% of students have felt pressure to take stimulants for academic purposes and to keep up with their peers.
Beyond philosophy, there are concrete health concerns. Dr. Ana Maria Munoz from Georgetown University warns that unprescribed stimulant use can lead to cardiovascular problems, including increased risk of heart attacks, mental health complications, including anxiety, depression, and even psychosis, addiction and dependence, and academic performance that actually decreases over time. From a Kantian perspective, knowingly risking these harms violates our duty of self-preservation. We have an obligation to treat our own bodies with respect, not as mere tools for academic achievement.
So where does this leave us? While Cam is right that the enhancement isn't categorically wrong, and while we sympathize with students facing immense pressure, the case of unprescribed Ritalin use fails multiple moral tests. It violates Kantian principles by creating a practice that can't be universalized without harm. It embodies what Sandel warns against, a drive for mastery that diminishes authentic achievement. It poses serious health risks that no temporary academic gain can justify, and it creates systematic unfairness that undermines the very meritocracy it claims to serve. The solution isn't to condemn students who feel driven to these measures, but to address the underlying pressures and to promote healthier and more sustainable approaches to academic success. As one survey respondent wisely noted, the real problem isn't the drugs, it's a system that makes students feel they need them. Thank you for joining us on Ethics in Focus, and remember, your worth isn't measured by your GPA, and no grade is worth risking your health or integrity.